Good afternoon, gamers. Christian, back again. More standard gameplay. Today, we are going to play a little bit of blue-white control. There is a list floating around that I want to give credit to where credit is due. One Goooooooooood has been crushing Magic Online with. Got third in a challenge yesterday. Lots of good daily results or league results. Lots of 5-0s and 4-1s. So I wanted to go ahead and throw that down for a couple reasons. One, I am already a blue-white enjoyer. For those of you that know me personally, I have played blue-white at most of my Pro Tours. It is far and away one of the deck archetypes I jive with the most. Fits my playstyle. I think I have a unique way of thinking about how to close and or play out games that are built this way, especially when you're very low on win conditions. This deck in particular, a little higher on win conditions than what I would normally lean towards if I was playing this shell. But all the same, I love these kinds of archetypes, kind of bobbing and weaving between when you can tap out for your sorceries, when you can attack with your lands, and when you're supposed to be defensive. Sideboard here, got a few interesting ones. A lot of the creature package that you're going to be familiar with if you play this archetype, right? Bezas, Tidebinders, Flankers, all have their own, and Conquerors here as well. All kind of provide you this nice little mid-range / disruptive element against the matchups that they're good for, which is really nice value. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the games. While we're waiting for the queue, I do want to say this is likely going to be my last standard video that I make, mostly just for a couple reasons. One, I just am not really built in the way to kind of do the Mangu train of thought where he just plays every different modern deck, for every different video because he enjoys modern so much. I'm much more of I like maximizing playing one deck that I think is very good, which in this case is Vivi, right? But nobody would be particularly interested in me putting out a video of Vivi gameplay every day, right? So that's not very likely. And I want to make sure that as I'm getting into the content game, that I am enjoying what I'm doing, right? I don't want to have to just slodge through something and then end up being miserable doing it, right? I think I would not like that, but I think that would almost assuredly affect the content as well. So I'm not exactly sure what my plan for a bunch of the Magic videos will be going forward, but this will very likely be the last or one of the last standard videos that I do. I do not think I'm interested in the third Get Lost, although 2 is probably pretty good since we're going to need answers here. I think so they're just going Surak. Yeah, it's not an ideal start. We're definitely slow off the ground, especially losing the die roll and being on the draw here. But this is still serviceable. We have sweepers in our deck and everything, so yep, this is just going to be an easy no more lies. It would have been 2 game breaking otherwise. We'll give them the card. Third Get Lost. I mean, this could just be a stock-up angle. They've already played their one Ouroboros. If they don't have a lot of extra pressure, I mean, we could just try to find our Day of Judgment. I think there's a lot of value in that. Plus, we just want to be mana efficient, right? Like, it does not really make a lot of sense to get lost here, and then draw, and then miss a land drop, and then only be able to play one spell again, right? At least stock up gives us the chance to double spell next turn. Well, I think we're going to take the only 2 cards that really matter here. You could take land number 5. I think land number 5 is not crazy. But I'm going to take the Overlord. Overlord feels like one of the only ways I could really get back into this game if they're low on threats. The deck generally is not low on threats, right? It's usually all creatures with a few pieces of, like, Flood Maws and Royal Treatments and stuff, and Snakeskin Veils to kind of get it over the finish line. Yeah, this is just going to be an Overlord angle for sure. Just try and do some blocking. If they send everything, oh dear. Well, that's tough. So we're probably just dead, right? Looks like everything has trample. So if I block like this, we're taking 7, 10, going to 1. So the only way we win is if Day of Judgment's on top of our deck, right? And if Day of Judgment's on top of our deck, then we'll have wanted to just block the extra point of damage via the Llanowar Elf and take 9 here. Sure. The top card was not Day of Judgment, and we go again. We go again. Alright, so Seam Rip, very good here. Not immediately obvious to me anything else is good. Tidebinder is interesting because it's kind of an Ouroboros removal spell in the sense that they are not going to have any removal rights. So the Tidebinder will just stay in play pretty much indefinitely. Beza is interesting because they will absolutely flood the board, but they just go so big that I don't think it's necessarily great either. Very interesting. Very interesting. I do think this is probably not a 5th counterspell angle, so that can come out. I do think Elspeth and Overlords and Meringues all make a decent bit of sense here. So this has got to just be a 3 steps ahead cut, right? It's just the most inefficient counterspell. I just leave in No More Lies because of its efficiency. I mean, the thing with 3 steps ahead is, like, you can't put a bunch of cancels in your deck against the Llanowar Elf deck, right? Like, even on the play, they don't line up very well, but they're especially dead on the draw. I mean, you'll just never get a window of opportunity to play them. You just need your deck to be a lot leaner than that. So let's leave in the Elspeths and the Overlords and try 2 Bezas. I think this makes a lot of sense. Slight nombos with the Overlords staying in. And, you know, we're going big on sweepers, right? We still want all of the cages and Day of Judgments. But I think that this is still totally fine. We are on the play here, and this hand is quite good. No More Lies. So we're actually going to bin the No More Lies here, with the logic being that it's only good against exactly a 4 cost, which we already have the Elspeth lined up for that, but it's really important to hit our land drops here. If I had kept the No More Lies, there's a real chance that we don't put our 4th land into play, and the 4th land is incredibly important when we're planning to Meringue. So drawing the 4th land there is very good for us. I do not have any interest in using Seam Rip here. I would rather just get an extra turn of waiting on Star Cage. And now we don't even have to deal with a 4-drop next turn, which is very good. Probably just jamming this Fountain Port and passing. There are some things here that are, like, a little annoying. Surak here is definitely not pleasant. But let's see, what do we got with Tivar? Tap and untap, you gain indestructible until end of turn. And he's leaving the Pollinator untapped to represent 1 mana, which is almost certainly Snakeskin Veil, because there is nothing else that you are representing there. So I'm probably leaning towards Seamrip plus stock up. You could just play a land here and plan to draw cards with the Coil and Catch side of Meringue. But this kind of feels like this is going to be a cast Meringue as a dragon game. And we also really need to find a Day of Judgment, because the way this game is lining up, we might just get run over by 3-drops and 4-drops. And we don't have a very good answer to that at the moment. So I think the stock up play makes a lot of sense here. We found Day of Judgment. We also found another Meringue, which I think is better than taking our 6th land. Because we're just jamming. Maybe it's not. Yeah, it's probably not. I think securing our 6th land here makes a lot of sense. I think Elspeth into Meringue, the way that we're sequencing this game, should be good enough. And then the Day of Judgment backup plan is also quite good. We get extra value out of seam ripping the... Exactly, I was going to say, of seam ripping the Pollinator here, because now that they can't have... They can't represent what I was saying with Snakeskin Veil, but there's also a world where it could be Spell Pierce. So, yeah, we're just jamming, make sure I don't misread. Tap and untap creature you control. Okay, so that is actually... That does actually pose a problem. The Day of Judgment only gets the Ouroboros. So... Probably trading Elspeth for some life plus removal on Ouroboros. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we can get better value out of Day of Judgment, and I think this is very likely the best that we can hope to get out of Elspeth for the direction the game is going. And then now we're just hoping this Meringue does some good work. They could Vine Stalk us. That would be a pretty aggressive line. Oh, they just have another Ouroboros? Okay. Man, I did not draw like this when I played the blue-green deck. That's tough. Tough business. And since picking up lands off of our stock up, we have drawn nothing but. Thankfully, I think we're still kind of in business here. I think Meringue still looks pretty good on this board. So they either do not have the Snakeskin Veil, or they elected not to use it there. Kind of interesting. I would think Snakeskin Veil there would have been pretty good on Ouroboros, no? Because you could have just attacked for an actual trillion. Yeah, you definitely could have attacked for an actual factual trillion. This card's a real problem, huh? This card is posing us a real problem. So, we have options. We could Stair Cage, which I think we're always doing anyways. And then if they don't give their Tivar indestructible, I don't think we're going to Day of Judgment, but we have the option. It doesn't have Trample. This only has Trample. It doesn't give the other thing Trample. So we're probably just playing our actual land. Let's lead on Starcage first and kind of see what they do. But we're probably playing our actual land so we can make a 1-1 off this Fountain Port and attack. I think attacking looks pretty good here. We can win the game in 3 attacks. We should probably take one now. Uh-huh. Yeah. It's tough because presumably I mean, we could chump block if they go that route, and that's pretty good. So yeah, I think we just have to take one of our attacks now. Alternatively, we could draw a land, and then we have Star Cage active for 2 more blockers. But I think we should set up to plan for winning the game after this Day of Judgment, because this Tivar plus extra threats is starting to look like a real problem. Yep, we will just take the 3 damage here. And then we will go to 11 for a 1/1, and that will almost certainly be drawing us a card. Alright, another land. I think we're not attacking this turn. I think we're just kind of chilling on our laurels. We're going to draw a card off his Fountain Port most likely. And we definitely want to represent a blocker, right? So if he does this ability, he can make 7 and 8, 15 power. But then we would be able to kill his Tivar. So I don't actually think they're going to do that. And then how much do I care about seeing what the top card of my deck is? I'm very unlikely to need the Anchorage as a blocker, I think. Just because I have Fountain Port that will functionally do the same thing. So let's Archive instead of Anchorage. Oh, Get Lost is very good. Get Lost is very good. Get Lost can stay. And we are chillin'. I could... Let's see, that would be representing 15. I mean, I could just attack. Attacking's kind of crazy, but I could just attack. And then I just lose to any, like, into the Flood Maw. God, we're so far behind the day. You know what? We're going to gamble a little bit. We are going to gamble a little bit. At least this way, if they do have the removal spell or the Flood Maw, the bouncing is very relevant here. Okay, we can live with that. Chump Blocker on site. There's no 1-mana card that's going to give Trample. So now if they have the Flood Maw, 5, 6, we will be able to Meringue plus Get Lost. I think we've sequenced this pretty well around everything. I think these attacks that we took in are looking really, really good for us. Let's block. Even if they had a way to give Trample, it would not be lethal. I think we're chilling on that. Sack to draw. And I think I'm down to take 6. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell... Oh, it is spell or ability. I thought it was only spell. No, this is fine. So, I'll take the 5 here. Because now, if the card in their hand is... Oh, it's just Siren. Oh, well, we win the game this way now. That works out for me. I was thinking... So, I want to stop here for a minute to kind of go through my train of thought. I actually didn't put them on Siren. I thought it was much more likely they had an Into the Flood Maw. So, this play was going to end up also being pretty good because I would have played the Get Lost on the Ouroboros. And then I would have untapped, gone to combat, and forced them to use the Flood Maw with their 1 mana before I deal damage to them. And then we could have just played Day of Judgment post-combat with no untapped creatures, which is why the Get Lost on the untapped creature would have been relevant. Clearly, as it stands now, we don't have to do that. We can give them the card for free, and we're just going to 6 them to death. Yeah, I'm not really sure how obvious that first attack was. I think that first attack was a little scary. Second attack was also pretty scary, but it's not even an option if you don't make the first attack. And obviously, I mean, Meringue is gigantic, right? I mean, you just get to steal some games that way because it's so massive. Is there anything different that we want to do when we are on the draw? Probably want to cut a stock up. Seems a little clunky to me. But I'm not really sure adding something like a Beza is better. I certainly am not convinced adding like an Exhale is better either. Well, I mean, adding an Exhale is almost certainly better. It's like, it's really unfortunate if I keep an Exhale or just a counterspell in general, and then their turn 3 play is Surrak, but they have other plays, right? I mean, you need to be able to interact with Ouroboros and Tivar, as we saw. Tivar is a massive problem. Part of me wants Tidebinder in the deck as well, but I just don't think you can justify it when your plan is to sweep everything. I just don't think that makes a lot of sense. This hand is not acceptable. Third land, blue source, obviously it's insane, but yeah, this hand is. And this hand is better. Opponent mulligans to 5, that's going to bode well for us. This is a pretty easy, put the stock up back, and we're off to the races. I would rather secure my 3 lands than make any greedy decision. Get Lost is definitely worth keeping. We've already got card draw online. This is in case something relevant slips through the No More Lies cracks. Druneth is very good. Druneth is a good card. I think, even though it's very mana inefficient, I'm very tempted to Seam Rip this. Because if they play a Tivar, we can Get Lost it. If they play a Surrak, I couldn't No More Lies it anyways. And the problem is this card, especially on a mulligan to 5, and me not having a sweeper is one of the only ways I really see them being able to claw back into the game with any resemblance of card advantage. So I think that this is a really good Seam Rip angle. If I thought that they had more small things, I think you could justify Get Losting it, and then sitting on Seam Rip plus Counterspell the next turn. But I think off of a double mulligan, giving them the ability to map something and draw lands, draw them out of their stumble, I think is way worse. And now we're just chilling. Now we've already got the Get Lost for any of the 4-drops that they would play. So I think this is a super easy stock-up angle. We really just can't get punished. Spell Pierce is nice. I did not expect them to have Spell Pierce. The point is still true. Well, so now if they had Spell Pierce, Drowner, and they go land Ouroboros, that would be kind of annoying, but they didn't, and I would say we're chilling. All right. I like our spot, but it is definitely not foolproof yet. It is definitely not foolproof. Are we Get Losting anything? So I think we're not. With the logic being, I think the maps would do more harm than good. I'm actually pretty confident that the maps would do more harm than good in this board state. Anchorage is excellent. Anchorage is a very good draw because now we can represent a block plus a counterspell. Oh, that is going to have to get losted, unfortunately. That is going to have to get losted. And Tivar. We will be countering that. Thanks. We still need a little bit of help, but I also still like our spot a decent bit. So, I think we can't play the Archive, unfortunately, because I think we're kind of obliged to threaten a block with Anchorage and get lost the Beanstalk. Not using the Surveil Land here feels bad, but I'm very confident that it is correct. So they're just going straight to combat. And we let them. No issues. They full send. We animate. And we've got a removal. Now that they've let us get to blocking, we know that it's not another Drowner. So if they drew a pump spell like a Snakeskin Veil or something, we have that covered. Kind of want to block the Llanowar Elf here and keep the Vinestalk further down. It looks weird because I'm, like, taking an extra point of damage, right? Like, 2 versus 3 is very relevant at this stage of the game, but... Maybe it's still a better block here because it's so likely the card that they drew is another mana source. But even if it is another mana source, they would still have to draw another one the next turn. It's very close. I'm going to block the elf. I think blocking the elf makes a little bit more sense. And they drew Surak. That is a problem. That is a massive problem. I still don't think I can get lost it because I think the maps just do more harm than good in this board state. And yeah, we're starting to be in some danger. We are in danger. So I can play another real land, and I can represent an Anchorage block plus play both of my removal spells. I definitely think I have to get lost the Surak and then Seam Rip the Geomorph. I guess then the question is just, do I have to represent the block? Because if I give them the 2 maps, and they draw a card, and the top card of their deck after that is a spell, and they make this a 4/3, I'm not blocking anyways. But if they go land, then they don't attack at all. Yeah, I just need to know what my top card is. Consult is good, but it's very mana inefficient. Alright, well, we're definitely doing the thing. I mean, this is what we came here to do, baby. Opponent has the pause set up here. Did they draw Snakeskin Veil? Oh, they drew Spell Pierce. That's actually not a bad Spell Pierce. It's not going to work because they're probably looking at it thinking I'm doing that representing a block, but I'm not, right? But they don't know that. That's actually a good Spell Pierce. I think if I was in their spot, I would Spell Pierce that as well. Land is worst case. The worst case scenario is if they drew a spell, got the land off that map, and now their top card is a spell. That would be worst case scenario. Or I guess that's... I was going to say, I guess that's not true. They're going to put Elf on the bottom for sure. So now if this card is a land, or if this card is a land, we're in a lot of danger. We're in danger anyways. We're in so much danger anyways. Alright, so are we consulting for 2 or for 4? 2 or 4. We've still got... How many get lost in our deck? 3? I think we have to consult for just the 1 card. We get to look at 8. 8 is really good. And I guess if we consult 4, like we could find Beza. We go to 6. It's probably good enough. But then we could just, I mean, Meringue is not good enough. So it's probably 2 cards, try to find Get Lost plus... I mean, it's just 1 card. It's just 1 card, unfortunately. It's just 1 card, unfortunately. And we're looking for... Yeah, it's just gotta be Beza. It's got to be Beza. What do you got for us, friend? Oh, they drew the mutation. Well, we have been defeated. We have been defeated. That is okay. We go again. I think in general that matchup is pretty good. Our opponent had some particularly hateful cards, right? Tivar is a very, very good threat against blue-white control, and they had that in their main deck. So that they were definitely constructed to give the control opponents a hard time. Another lost die roll. How unlucky. I think this hand is not amazing, but good enough to keep. Passage right off the rip. That implies to me we're probably playing against Vivi. Especially somebody that's ranked top 100. There it is. And Profs. Profs is one of the nightmare cards to resolve against us. That is for sure. Because now it kind of makes every threat a must answer or a must deal with. I think I'm actually okay letting Riddler resolve. I'd rather save the No More Lies for something that affects the board. Because eventually I think I can get ahead with Overlords and Elspeth if given enough time, right? But I need to be able to get to that stage of the game. I think this is kind of the same thing. I think I'm just okay letting them set up their hand all that they want. Especially since he's not going to play a creature this turn. I mean, the worst he could do is play a Mako. I mean, if he played a Mako after Winter Night Stories, that would be kind of annoying. But I think I would still be okay with it. But yeah, like I said before, I would rather this No More Lies fight over things getting added to the board. Oh, this is a pretty good draw. Potentially. Don't need it right now. Jam it on through. Unfortunately, you can't realistically, when they've drawn this many cards, tap out for Overlord. We have to play a draw go game. It's too likely that they have the combo and we just get worked over. But if we can set up a scenario where we can get to like 7 mana and have like a Get Lost in our hand, play like Threat plus Get Lost or something, that's like probably enough of a reason to we can tap out for a threat then. So we're just going for Winter Night Stories here, and we're just going to go for a big FOMO. Yeah, I mean, I don't love Winter Night Storiesing this now after it's already kind of gotten the first half out of it. I think I'm just going to let this happen. With the logic being, we're going to meringue, and I think we're just going to try and see if we can find, like, a Seam Rip or something. Get Lost is pretty good. Probably main phase and Get Lost, no? Oh, no, I guess we're probably just Star Caging, actually. Yeah, I think this is a Star Cage angle, and we do not need the Demolition Field. We definitely are incentivized to play a card here because we don't want to discard, and there's no way for us to play something that's relevant and then sit on double spell here, so I think that this is fine. They're just jamming the Riddler. They're trying to play that game. I respect it. I think now this is a pretty easy No More Lies angle. Just because we're getting to the stage of the game where they have a ton of mana, may not even be able to No More Lies something that I want to. And now, the Fountain Port was a very good draw. Now I think we're in the stage of the game where we're just jamming this Overlord, and we are gonna sit on these Get Lost and try to prevent the combo. Flood Maw, the Star Cage. Sure. Presumably, they are setting up the combo. We don't care about FOMO having Delirium. I think it's unlikely we die from that with Get Lost in our hand. The more important thing is this Cauldron here, exactly. So they haven't drawn a card yet. So it's just a matter of, do they have a way to put a second counter on something? So if we Get Lost the FOMO here, and they play like a... So we have to do this, but here's the logic. They could still make 1,000,000 mana by playing another FOMO or a Scholar, and then getting counters on it via the Proft. But at least this way here, we're not dying this turn. And they could just miss also, right? Like, they've drawn a bunch of cards, but they could just not have one of the things that puts counters on itself. Riddler is not one of them. They are going to do the thing. Oh, they have the Splash Portal. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, they're getting to make 1,000,000 mana. It's just a matter of what do they want to do with that 1,000,000 mana. Winter Night Stories. The fact that they're tapped out, I mean, we still kind of have a pretty good angle into this. Yeah, I mean, our spot is still not bad. Because they're going to try and play around, like, a sweeper to some degree. I wonder what they're going to do with that Vivi. That's pretty interesting. But they know about the Star Cage, so they know that the Cauldron is going to get nabbed. I think our spot's still, like, totally valid here. Alternatively, we could just play Elspeth and let them keep the mana. That may not be bad either. Like, they still would have to find a way to play a unit. They would have to play a creature. Are there any other creatures in the graveyard? There are. So they would have to play a creature, try to put a counter on it. Maybe I'm just supposed to eat this Cauldron, live to fight another day. But then there goes my board presence as well. It's tough. Tough, tough, tough. I think I'm going to just let them have Cauldron for another turn. I don't think I can win the game if my play is Star Cage. Like, attack for 5 Star Cage, lose all my own threats just to get their Cauldron. I don't think I'm winning the game if I do that. I do not think that I'm winning the game if I do that. I want to be very clear. I think it's unlikely I win the game doing this also. But I at least think keeping relevant permanents on the board is good. So this is going to be... They don't have the... So, oh, they're talenting. Interesting. So Vivi's ability will proc twice. But I can't use the Get Lost on the Vivi, or they just get double activation anyways. At least with the Vivi in play, they only get double activation on mana on just the Vivi. That's fine. Basically not going to use this Get Lost until they go to try and put a second, until they try to put a counter on something. Oh, that's not good. That's their third Vivi. Third Vivi is a pretty big problem. We let it resolve. They're going to target the Otter, I assume. And we have to Get Lost it. And they still have access to a ton of mana. Basically infinite. But no hasted threats, so we're at least probably not dead. 24 cards in their deck. It'd be hard for them to go through enough spells to kill us. Just because so many of their spells also draw cards. They also end up in a weird spot where it's pretty complicated to piece together how much you want to commit to the board if you don't have a way to deal with like a Day of Judgment, right? So they're just going to Winter Night Stories again, which makes sense. All the mana in the world, buddy. All the mana in the world. Level up. Probably, is it Splash Portal? Oh, it's just Torch to deal with Elspeth. That's a good play. Nice little play. Not immediately obvious to everybody, I wouldn't say. Down goes Elspeth. They're going to try and put the counter on this. Yep, and they successfully do it, so they can make another 4 mana if they so choose. Or 5, technically, if they played a spell first for prowess. They saw a second Vivi activation. Still 19 cards in the deck. Probably can't realistically win anymore. I think they've just got too much gas. These Storm Chaser talents definitely give them a lot of inevitability that not all of the Vivi lists have access to. Well, Day of Judgment is something. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about them making infinite mana, right, if I'm just going to Star Cage clean up post-combat. So this is probably not the worst. This is probably not the worst attack Day of Judgment set on Consult angle. Alternatively, I could just draw a card with Fountain Port as well. Like, what are they going to do? I mean, I don't need to Consult, right? It's kind of the same thing. Both of them are drawing me a card. I mean, I don't think I need to represent 3 mana for anything, right? It doesn't seem like it. Yeah, I think this is an attack in Day of Judgment angle. 19 cards left in their deck. If they don't have a haste element, and this is now the 3rd Vivi, so it's pretty unlikely that they burn us out, I think. And then obviously they can make infinite otters. Those are just going to get cleaned up by the Star Cage, right? So I think this all makes sense. I think this all makes sense. I could have technically played around Spell Pierce there, but I'm not going to expect them to have Spell Pierce game 1. Yep. And if they have a haste threat, then we're dead, but we were dead to a haste threat anyways. Oh, we're just dead to this. That checks out. Well, we never had an answer to that anyways. Very nice. Very nice. Well played by the opponent. Well played by the opponent. So, what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? We probably want all of the threats, right? I think all of the threats make a lot of sense here. Conquerors for sure. Tidebinders for sure. I do not think it's a Beza angle. Yeah, I think if they don't have profs, I don't need it. And if they do have profs, their creatures are too big anyways. So I think that makes sense to me as well. I do not think we want Decree here, right? I do not think we're bringing in Decree just for Fomos, Magos, and the potential, like, maybe they have the Ral Planeswalker, but I would suspect that that's not something we want to play around either. And I do think we want to just go up to all the Seam Reps. I think Seam Rep is very good here. Notably, I do not think that you should prioritize targeting profs with it very often, but I think everything else is fine. And then, how are we handling the cuts? Once again, I think 3 steps ahead. Not great here. Izzet is quite good at playing a fair game and just ramping up their mana. I think the Exile is going to be weak here as well. So, we probably need to trim some Star Cages. 3 Star Cages. Well, I mean, Star Cage is actually quite good against this version. Against regular Vivi, I think Star Cage is a card that you don't necessarily need 3 of. But this version is playing Talent, which Star Cage is quite good against Talent. So maybe I'm wrong about needing all of these extra Seam Reps, and I do not think that we need all the Get Lost either. And then I'm probably just cutting one of the fat cards. I think we're more likely to get paid off by Overlord than Elspeth here. With the logic being we can just commit to it faster. It's much easier to imagine a world where the board is open on 4, and I can just jam an Overlord and maybe get something out of it. It's much harder to do that with an Elspeth, and then you just don't get the value of the -3 as much on Elspeth, right? Because really the only thing you're killing with it is a Scholar. This hand is not good. You just got to send this back. Yeah, I mean, this hand is better, but you're not happy about it. This is, so we're keeping the lands. You keep all the lands. You keep Star Cage. You keep Stock Up, which means we've got our 2-for-1, our potential removal spell 2-for-1. That means you probably have to keep Consult and then plan to use it on turn 2. Because there's no world where you can stock up on 3 and then meringue on 4, right? You're just never going to have that much time. They're going to, I mean, that's just not real life. They're going to play something before then. So you've got to put the meringue back here, I'm pretty sure. And then the way the sequencing usually goes with this game is I'm going to represent a 2-mana counterspell. So I'm going to play the Plains, and then they're very likely, like, it's very unlikely that they'll play something that's very important here. Like, if they play anything, it would be like a FOMO or something. I don't think they would want to commit a Cauldron or just nothing, right? Because it's too important to not have those cards get countered. Alright, so we're looking for a land here, preferably a white source. We did not find a white source. Probably obliged to take the land anyways. Because I think it's kind of realistic that the stock up could get spell pierced. Yeah, doesn't feel good. But I think we're just obliged to take the land. Oh no, that second island is tough. Is it getting spell pierced? Notably, if it doesn't get spell pierced, it's pretty hard for them to make a bunch of mana next turn, and actually pretty much impossible. Because without anything, they do have the spell pierce, unfortunately. So then it's just how much damage can they do. And Riddler is not that much damage. Oh, I guess if they're splash portaling, it's really annoying. Wow. It's just Modern all over again. It's just Modern all over again. Well, I do not think we are in a great spot, but we will stock up. Now that we have our lands situation in check, we're probably just taking double spell here. I don't think there's any reason to take Anchorage. No More Lies isn't terrible, but we're kind of in a desperate spot already, unfortunately. Like, we're kind of looking for a way to remove this Riddler. Notably, this would be better as an Elspeth right now, potentially, if this was what it was. Obviously, there's 2 Overlords and 1 Elspeth in the deck, so it's not necessarily a guarantee that that's what this would have been, but... Second Timebinder isn't nothing, but it's certainly not good either. And yeah, we are probably just planning to take 5. And if they go for Splash Portal on Riddler, try and Timebinder the ability. It's not... Oh, and they're playing Trainer. Very interesting. I have not seen this list of the deck floating around. It is also not the list that I'm particularly interested in playing. I wonder what they're cutting to have all these slots. Very interesting. I guess we haven't seen Scholars. Yeah, we just haven't seen Scholars. We haven't seen Makos either. That's crazy. Alright, well... I don't think we can ever Tidebinder the Trainer, unfortunately. They missed. That's interesting. And then Prowess, and now I could Tidebinder this half of it, just because get it gone. They draw the card because it was an Otter. Yeah. I mean, I gotta play my cards, unfortunately. But it feels like we are hella cooked. Pretty happy to block here. Gotta protect our life total. Tidebinder's not doing anything else in this spot. Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna die to this Riddler Splash Portal, unfortunately. Still have 3 Get Lost in our deck we could find. Could just play Overlord and represent a 2-mana card. Probably kind of have to do that, right? Okay. Opponent is actually just pulverizing us. Little late, but that wasn't really ever going to be relevant anyways, and we are just dead to the flyer. Alright, tough couple of games so far. Matches, rather. We're also losing all of our ranking. That's what I get for not playing Vivi. Alright. These control matches take a little bit longer, so we'll get this last one in, and hopefully we'll end on a win. End on a big fat dub. Oh, we finally won a die roll. And this hand is quite good. Notably, we will lead on Anchorage. If it was open deck list or a sideboard game where we knew what the opponent was playing, I think you can lead on Archive, but we don't even know what we want yet, right? So, Village, what does that mean? That probably means they're, maybe like the Sultai deck? Probably not, right? That's alright. We will represent our No More Lies into Starting Town. Interesting. Well, I'm going to play another Anchorage because I still kind of don't know what we want other than card draw. Maybe I can play Archive and I'm looking for like Consult and Dragon. Yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. Pretty much throwing everything else to the bottom. Yep. Very happy to not draw that land. Aha, I see, I see. I haven't played against this deck in forever. The Artifact deck? I mean, we don't care about them tapping our permanents, so... And if they want to draw a bunch of cards with the flip side of this, I think we can live with that as well. Stock Up is a good draw. I think we don't need to play it this turn. I think we can wait, play it next turn, represent Counterspell or a Get Lost. Oh, that's pretty good. That might even be better than playing the Stock Up this turn, honestly. Is it another? Tap another target, so you can't even remove the counters if there's not a non-land in play. Very nice. Yeah, let's get the demo field in play. I think having an answer to that village is pretty relevant here. And then we're going to upkeep it, I'm pretty sure. So they're just doing it now. So whatever they play here, I can't counter. That's fine. And they're just doing that so they can get value out of the braided net. I'm okay with that. I can live with that. I think we go ahead and demo field this, though. I don't want them to be able to play more uncounterable things. Uncounterable is scary. I, of course, do want to take action, and I will go get uplanes. I think they were supposed to, well, I guess, oh, it doesn't, you don't need to remove the counters to do the craft ability, never mind. You can only craft as a sorcery, though, right? So, that's not particularly scary. Discard a card, look at the top X, where X is the number of artifacts you control, one of those rests on the bottom. Yeah, that's fine. Ooh, Elspeth, pretty good, pretty good. I don't think we need to jam it now. It's kind of unfortunate that we don't have Ultima in this list. We really need Ultima against this deck. As it stands, I kind of think this matchup's really hard to win without it, right? Kind of feels like it. Am I ever seam ripping this because I don't want them to craft it? I think the answer to that is no. Let's just jam a stock up. We get to represent our No Moralize. Now we're definitely taking 3 steps ahead, and I think we're just taking Consult, right? Get Lost doesn't do anything against any of these artifacts. That makes sense to me. Opponent is using the vault. That's fine. The plan is to win the game with Elspeth. It's just a matter of we have to get to the point. So this is the birthing pod thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not trying to have that be in play. So, probably have to 3 steps ahead this, and if they have a counter spell, then that's tough beats. They do not. Good news for us. Wouldn't be surprised if they crafted the braided net now. That would make a lot of sense to me. We're 100% just jamming Elspeth next turn. Yeah, and they're representing drawing a bunch of cards. That's fine. I mean, I think if we let the game go an infinite amount of time, they will win. So I think this is a pretty straightforward, just like jam Elspeth. Hope our No More Lies is like just enough disruption. Which it appears it will not be. Let's see, if I No More Lies this and prevent the repurposing bay for 1 turn, is there anything that I could find off Consult to get rid of this repurposing bay? I don't think so, right? I think if let's see, we don't have Ultimas. Cages and Seam Rips don't get it. We don't have Tidebinders in the deck. We could find Meringue. That's not a good answer. Yeah, we probably just have to let this resolve, unfortunately. We could No Moralize it and prevent the use, but might as well just go ahead and expedite the game and let's see what they're going to get. Synthesizer makes sense. We at least can answer Synthesizer a bunch of times. Still not ideal, though. And then they're double topping. Double topping is tough. Double topping is tough. So am I consulting here? I kind of think so. It's just a matter of what am I digging for. I mean, this is not a game that's going to be solved by cards, unfortunately. But they also get this ability. It is when it enters. Yeah, let's go ahead and consult. This just doesn't feel like a game where I'm going to win or lose because I drew just enough cards. Yeah, I might just have to try and out-tempo them with Meringue. That is not a good plan, but it might be the best plan that I've got. Now, I could alternatively, I could attack for 7 this turn, which I think is the plan. I think attack for 7 is pretty good. Alternatively, they don't have a 7th land, and they've missed this land drop twice now. So if the top card of their deck isn't a land, we could actually counter a Day of Judgment. That's really appealing. That might actually be the line here. That feels like a way that... They did double top. Would they double top lands with all of this in play? Maybe. I don't care. I talked myself into it. I think this is for sure the play. And then it's a matter of what am I bouncing? It's for sure Repurposing Bay, and then it's just the Synthesizer as well. They already like their top 2 cards. This is already flipped, so it just doesn't really do anything. And then if we counter, we get to go 16, and then we get to represent 6 plus 8 is 14? 17? So we can represent lethal next turn? That's pretty good. Yeah, let's do that. Alternatively, we probably could represent lethal by making 1/1s as well. I think it probably ends up being the exact same, actually, right? I think it ends up being the exact same. It would have been 18 United Battlefronts. I mean, sure. I can definitely imagine things going wrong, but no moralizing it doesn't stop. I'd rather no moralize the post-combat. In fact, I'm kind of surprised I guess they're playing around no moralize. They get to remove Meringue. Okay. Well, we don't have lethal next turn. Do I want to counter that? I kind of feel like the answer is yes. It's a shame we don't have any way to remove this Aegis. We could find another Meringue. How much do I care about this tap ability? I mean, I think I kind of care about it a lot, right? I think that's the way that I'm winning the game. Just try and tempoing them out. It's not super likely to work, but I do think it's our best play. So, I don't need to sit on untapped mana anymore. I'm pretty happy to just let my opponent literally do whatever they want next turn. So I think we're always activating these anchorages, right? 4, 5, 6, just activate double anchorage, crack for 12. I mean, what do they do? Our things have flying, right? Like, it's not like they could make 20 of these tokens. That doesn't win the game. And then also just putting them at 8s, then a sweeper doesn't do anything, right? Because then our anchorages are 3s. And then they go up to 4s the next turn with another Elspeth. That looks pretty good to me. I think that's better than consulting for anything. Like, what does consult do? What do we even find on consult that would be good? We can't seam rip anything. I like it. I like it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure we're a dog to win this game. I think we're very likely to lose, but this play looks pretty good to me. No reason to represent 1 mana. The 1 mana is not scaring anybody from anything. Sure. I don't think we actually need the stock up. I think if they do their thing, then we're losing with the stock up anyways, but let's see what they got. Another Battlefront. I still think they were probably supposed to synthesize her first, and we got them. Ha ha! Their deck did not have an answer to the big anchorages. You love to see it. All right, well, we have a lot of very good cards against them, I believe. Yeah, all of those cards look great. Seam Rip looked terrible. Cage looked really bad, but I don't think you want to go to 0 cages because it is at least a way to clean up all of the synthesizer tokens. And in particular, I think the Star Cage for that reason is going to be better than Day of Judgment. I think Day of Judgment you actually don't need at all. Because if I'm right about the concoction of the deck, they don't have any big creatures that I would need to sweep away with Day of Judgment anyways, and the big creatures can still get Elspeth. Also, we don't really need Get Lost here, right? Get Lost looks like it does absolutely nothing. It does absolutely nothing, right? Yeah, it doesn't do anything. So Star Cage is better than that. And then, like, Flanker, I guess. Doesn't seem like they're using their graveyard for a lot of value. They're crafting. But I don't think bringing in Rest in Peace to stop their crafting is very valuable. I don't think bringing in Beza makes a lot of sense. I think Flanker is probably better than Beza here. Sure, and then just like, it's still probably Beza over Day of Judgment, right? I don't think I need Day of Judgment when I'm putting the third Star Cage back in my deck. I think this all makes sense. I think this all makes sense to me. There's a world where we get a little punished if they have like a sideboarding plan that involves them bringing in real creatures. But even then, we can at least fight it in the red zone with our creatures, so I think cutting all the Get Lost is fine. Like, I don't think you're supposed to leave Get Lost in until you see a reason to do so, right? Because it's not like you ever want to just use it to destroy a token. Alright, so this hand is clearly, like, not ideal. But it's probably better than a mulligan. Facing opponent's mulligan, they're not exactly a fast deck. I guess I really do want to lean on some of my creatures, though. Yeah, let's mulligan. Oh, I hit the keep button by accident, I think. Well, so I wanted to mulligan this hand, but I don't think keeping it is atrocious. Obviously, control decks get a lot of equity. What do you think you're doing up there, little miss? Control decks get a lot of equity out of sitting on untapped mana. Opponent double mulliganed, unfortunate for them. I mean, we drew another land. This is a hand that could get beat by a mulligan to 5. The counterspell is good. They do have voice. Good on them. Good on them. That voice poses a pretty big problem. Especially since we wasted a draw step keeping the Exhale on top. Cryogen Relic. And we'll take 3. Okay. Our draws have been exactly what we expected. Clayfire Bricks. Sure thing. They are doing the thing even on their mulligan. We are going to impend our Overlord because we need to try and represent some kind of defense against this Voice of Victory. Now, the good news is if they are stumbling, they are not stumbling. Now we're probably cooked, right? Because now they just go get Synthesizer. It's not great. Yep. And we don't have any of our sweepers in play yet. Or in our hand, rather. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is a good place to be. And I think we're just crunching for 4 and playing another Impended Overlord and hoping for the best. We at least have kind of shown that they don't answer flyers super well. I don't think they would have left Day of Judgment, and I think Day of Judgment probably gets sideboarded out most of the time. So I could imagine a world where they don't go completely psycho here, right? Like, they're going to sacrifice this. They're going to make another Synthesizer. And then, yeah, if they don't have United Battlefront, they only get to play one thing. They're only going to go up to 3 Synthesizers. That's beatable. Presuming that I get to bounce 2 of them with Meringue next turn. Yeah, I don't think you want to attack. I would make that trade so fast. Yeah, so they didn't even have that. That's not terrible. Yeah, I mean, let's just jam Meringue and see what happens. Oh, it's working. We're just bouncing both of these, right? Like, that for sure. You don't want to bounce Synthesizer and let them proc 1 plus loot again, right? Like, you just... Yeah, I like it. There's no way this is going to work, right? I mean, we actually just have 14 power and flying next turn. There's no way this works. There's no way. I refuse to believe this works. Oh my god, it's going to work. I mean, there's no answer for Meringue, right? They can only have the deal 5 to a tap thing? No, there's got to be something they can get off the repurposing bay, right? Ah. How cute is that? Fire Crystal, your creatures have haste. Honestly, good for them. That's pretty sweet. Good for them. Good for them. Alright, so... Now that we saw what their deck is, a different version of what their deck is trying to do, I don't think anything changed. The only thing that I think changed is I don't want to be cold like we were to Voice, but you don't want to be all in on answers to it either, especially if they only have a couple copies. I'm pretty happy to get the Bez out of my deck for sure. That's a slam dunk. And then it's just like, I don't think the Flanker is very good either, right? Yeah, I don't think Flanker is very good. I think having 2 Get Lost in, and then the 5 counter spells now on the play as answers to Voice is perfect. And then we just have to keep Voice as a priority, right? Because it's such a problem for us. But I think that's totally fine. We lost that game, but we gained infinite knowledge. We gained infinite knowledge. We have a foolproof plan now. Opponent in the tank for their sideboard. I wouldn't be surprised if they're switching things up again. Like, if they're putting the Soul Read on me, that I'm putting Get Lost back into my deck, and then they're taking Voice out. But that doesn't actually really work, because, as you saw, having access to a Get Lost could have changed the math there on whether we lived or died to the haste attack, so... And yeah, this hand is fine. This hand does the thing that I was just discussing, which is, you know, I get to play my second land and represent a piece of interaction even if I don't have it. Bink. And we are certainly going to play Consult because we've already got infinite stock-ups this game to recoup card advantage. It's a little annoying if they resolve Repurposing Bay or Synthesizer next turn, but if they have multiple threats, they're just going to jam anyways. So I don't think faking a counterspell makes a lot of sense. Now, I could just take a real counterspell. That's not bad. Interesting. I think it might still be a stock-up angle here. And the logic is, I don't mind a Synthesizer resolving because I can counter the next thing. Repurposing Bay would be pretty annoying, but even then they would be a turn away from using it, and then they would go get Synthesizer, and then we could still counter it on the next turn. I think you just have to play one of the stock-ups this turn, because the XL is always going to be pretty good. And I don't think you can justify waiting until turn 5 to play stock-up, right? Like, you can't play it on 4 because then you're wasting a mana, and you're not going to be able to double spell there anyways. I think you just have to take your mana-efficient play. Yeah, I think you just have to take the mana-efficient play. 3 steps ahead is very good. I mean, we're just taking the double spell because we never need the lands. We kind of actually do want a second blue, but I think next turn we're just going to play Anchorage and sit on Exhale. Exhale is very likely to be able to counter something. Oh, that's good news for us. The fact that they didn't play a must-counter artifact there is very important. And yeah, now we're just drawing all the counter spells. Still only have the 1 blue source, so I think we have to Anchorage here. No reason to do anything else. But yeah, I like our spot. I think our spot is quite good. They are representing some slow card advantage that way. But I think that's all fine. Do I need to do anything here? I think the answer is no. Archive is a potentially good draw. I think because I have access to 2 blue now and there is a world where I want a 3rd blue, I'm pretty happy to archive here. And I think we have already solved our land woes. I do not think we need that Verge. And I think we're chilling. We want to set up a scenario like the first game if we can. We really want to find a way to stick one of these flying threats, like an Overlord or an Elspeth or something, and then just write out these counter spells to victory. Which means if they don't play a must counter, yeah, certainly not Relic. We have a lot of interest in consulting here, and I was going to say we may even let something good resolve to consult the stars here. Is there any world where I ever don't kick it because I want to play around their own counterspell? No, I don't think so. I think if they counter a consult, that's fine. Well, we're definitely not taking Cage with these relics sitting here. Fountain Port's like not the worst win condition, honestly. So it's just like Tidebinder and second Fountain Port. I kind of don't hate that. I don't hate it at all. That's a good draw. It's a very good draw. Can play the Demolition Field too and represent a move on this Vault. Uh-huh. And that is the correct way that I want to tap my mana. Good job, Arena. You'll love to see it. All right. Very important threat to initiate because we can close the game out pretty quickly between that and Anchorage. Pretty quickly. Battlefront. Battlefront. I think this is just a 3 steps ahead angle. I mean, I could just Tidebinder. Maybe Tidebinder is better. Because, like, what's the worst that can happen with this Battlefront, right? I mean, the worst thing that can happen is, like, they get double Synthesizer. And that would obviously be really bad. Double Synthesizer would be really bad. But even then, I counter 1. They only get 1 thing, and then I'm still flying in the air. Yeah, I think it's a 3 steps. I think the only punish is... because so many of the things have activated abilities, no? Alright, I'm going to let Battlefront resolve. I think literally double Synthesizer is the only punish. I think double Synthesizer is the only punish. Yeah, I mean, these... so I can Tidebinder that. And then that doesn't do anything, yeah. Do they have the counterspell? It looks like it. Which is tough. But if they had the counterspell, then they were going to counterspell the 3 steps ahead, and the same thing was going to happen. So, wow, that's tough. That's tough. That probably... I feel like that might win them the game. I feel like that might win them the game. Alright, what do we do from here? What do we do from here? We're still looking for a threat. We just have to stock up, right? I mean, we have enough we can double spell. Maybe I'm supposed to play a land first? I think I am. I don't think I'm ever... I don't need to play Fountain Port this turn. It's this land, and then it needs to tap my mana better than that, right? Oh, no, I guess that's fine, actually. I just need to have 2 blue untapped, and then Fountain Port is... Am I ever demo fielding? If nothing happens? I think I'm not. I think I just don't care about this vault. Consult and no more lies. That he is. Alright. And we'll send it on down. Man, that was a brutal turn. Hitting the snare and then having the no more lies, so tough. Repurposing Bay. I think we have to use negate here. This is very important to fight over because it's one of their ways to generate a win condition. Without it, they're just doing a bunch of dirtily things, and we have time to kind of counteract that. That I will not counter. I don't think it's very likely that we get value out of this No More Laws. But I don't want to counter just nothing either. Like, I don't think I care about this resolving. Not to say that we couldn't lose to it if the game keeps going in this direction, but... Craft, draw, and then... Yup. And then we are... going hunting. We need... That is not what we needed. We needed the other thing. Oh, this is pretty good. 3-6. Oh, we're a land away. Wow, we're a land away from being able to meringue plus 3 steps ahead the snare on the backside. Wow, that's actually so close. But the opponent's just going to get to draw so many cards. I still probably have to do that, right? It just takes up their entire turn. Yeah, I mean, I have to do it. No, whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, yeah, I only did it for 1 card. Okay, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Scared myself there for a minute. Make sure it taps it correctly. It did. And we do this to just stall them. It doesn't do anything except stall them, unfortunately, but you do what you gotta do. Maybe there's a word where they don't lead on. Oh, this is a potential mistake. I think this is a mistake. Yeah, this is a mistake. Because now I can just flying them. I don't care about this. Wow. Yeah, they definitely just needed to play the snare around a No More Lies. Because now if they play snare, I get value out of my bad counter spells, and then I get to untap with 3 steps ahead? Wow. Do I even care about this? I guess so, right? Because, like, what else is it going to counter? Sure. Wow. I think we're going to win this game now. Are we not? 4, 8. So craft 9. I don't even know if you can craft. That's got to be an activated ability, right? I'm going to assume that's an activated ability. 3, 4 blue sources. So 3, 3, 2. So yeah, I'm gonna pay to make this an untapped 5th blue source. That makes sense to me. That way we have the ability to play all of our cards if need be. And crunch in for 9. There's no way for me to really represent lethal because I could have attacked for 11, put them at 13, and made a token. But I think the more likely way that I win this game is copying Meringue. I represent the lethal damage that way. I think that's way better. I can't believe we're actually, like, in a position to win this game. I think our opponent messed up, if I'm being honest. I think they should have removed the Conqueror. I mean, this is 3. How much does it? It's 3 to counter, and then so it's 6 to counter plus make a copy. He's only got 1 blue source up. Yeah, I mean, it's just counter plus make a copy is insane here, no? Target an artifact or creature I control. I would like to copy the Durgan. Yeah, but this is not going to work because... Behold a dragon, the one that's in play, please. Ha-ha! Ah-ha-ha-ha-ha! Winning that game was sweets. That felt good. That sparked joy. That sparked a lot of joy. All right. So, still not the best showing. We went 1 and 2. But as you saw, the gameplay was still pretty interesting, I think. A lot of interesting decisions, I mean, we got a good matchup spread, right? You got to see the deck against blue-green aggro. Is it Vivi? But called not Cauldron-less, but the Splash Portal version, which was very interesting, with talents. And then the Artifact deck, which I think in general is supposed to be a pretty bad matchup. But we made it work. We made the sideboard and some of the cards work for us. Had a little help from the opponents as well. All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for us today. I appreciate you all stopping in. And if you enjoyed the content as well, throw out a like, subscribe, or a comment. It helps the channel quite a bit. And I think until next time, guys, peace!